So we just shared with you the conversation I had with State Representative Tony McCombie, who is now the House Minority Leader for the new General Assembly that seats January 11th. And they're in a super minority in the Illinois House after losing several seats. But McCombie laying out her agenda and how she expects to have any impact. And if you missed that, you can see that. Search my social media everywhere, Bishop on Air, and you'll be able to find it. Again, Bishop on Air. Twitter is a good way to go and find that just feed. But let's get to the conversation I had with the newly elected Senate Minority Leader, John Curran. He replaces Dan McConkey, who did not get that position, but Curran, moving forward, he has an extra Republican senator in the Illinois Senate for the new General Assembly, but they're still in the super duper minority. So here is Senator John Curran in a conversation I had with him in his office yesterday, here with WMAY, sharing that with you on air. So here, check it out.
You know, for Illinois Senate Republicans, we grew, we gained a seat, welcoming a couple new members coming in overall. At the same time, we had some challenges on messaging and some of the national issues and national environment that we got to continue to work to really have a good, solid Illinois Republican brand that doesn't become nationalized.
What does that look like?
That looks like a party that is concerned first and foremost with kitchen table issues, issues that working families are struggling with on a daily basis. So if we're part of the process in solving those issues, providing relief, that's going to lead to greater electoral success for the Republican Party here in Illinois.
What do you think are the reasons the House did poorly and the Senate gained a seat?
Different races, different dynamics. I mean, we were in a lot of races at the end that were close. So, you know, I think it's just we had both sides had great candidates. You know, at the end of the day, each election's a little individualized, and you know, we were able to pull a few out.
When it comes to the issues at hand, you guys are going to be in the super minority still, even though picking up a seat. How do you get the point across for, you know, better economic conditions, lower taxes? How are Republicans going to be able to do that?
I mean, the reality is we have to work within this process to advocate for lower taxes, relief for families in Illinois, and you know, with that consistent message, and at the same time, being a participant in the process, we will bring a better product, better result. You know, we're going to help balance out policy here in Illinois. We're not going to get any balanced policy in Illinois without participation from the minority party.
What's going to be different from Leader McConkey's leadership and your leadership?
You know, great respect for Leader McConkey, did a tremendous job. We are just, you know, we're moving forward. We're just changing a few different roles for people. We're 19, so every member plays an important role. Leader McConkey has played an important role, will continue to do so, as will every member going forward. So it's just, you know, giving some different people, including myself, an opportunity in some new roles in this team environment, in this caucus.
Republicans seem to be constantly asked about Trump, so I'll ask you. Trump announced yesterday. What kind of role does that play in Illinois politics, if any?
We can't take our eye off the ball. So whatever, any one national figure, regardless of who it is, should not change what Illinois Republicans are trying to do for the citizens they represent and the issues that Illinoisans care about. So again, we are going to be focused on kitchen table issues. That's going to be where our resolve is, and we'll let the national play itself out.
Hearing a conversation I had with Senate Minority Leader John Curran yesterday in his office, the morning after he was elected by the Senate Republican caucus to lead that caucus. They gained a seat, but they're still in the super minority. Continuing on with the conversation I had with Leader Curran yesterday, again in his office. There seems to be, you know, a lot of dynamics, not just between parties, but between geography. You've got, you know, several downstate counties that added to the list of like 20 some odd that want to split from Illinois. Talk a bit about that and how you address that as a leader in the Republican caucus.
Each member needs to represent their district first and foremost. And really, our districts are very diverse. I represent an area that is suburban Cook County and the western suburbs in DuPage County. That, is a very different, diverse district than you're going to get in some of the western or downstate areas. As long as members represent their district first and foremost, and we as individual members come here to work collectively and cohesively for some basic principles, we're going to do very well.
What's your relationship like with Senate President Harmon?
It's always been a good working relationship. I'm sure that will continue, but at the end of the day, as long as Senate President Harmon respects the minority party and their resolve for meaningful participation in the process, I think we will work well going forward.
That's been talked about in the past, hasn't always played out that way. A lot of times it's all these on one side of the board and all ours on the other side of the board.
I've been a member that has found a way to work in a meaningful manner on some issues with members of both sides of the aisle. That is really the approach. If the Democrats continue to go it alone on the big issues, they are not going to be able to moderate the extremes of their base. And we are not going to get balanced policy here in Illinois. The only way to balance it out is to give the minority party meaningful participation. My message is going to be clear on that. My sincerity and wanting that meaningful participation will be clear. And, ball's going to be in the Democrats' court.
The governor, what's your relationship like with him, and how do you see that playing out in the next 2 years?
I haven't worked directly with the governor on much. Certainly have worked a lot with the various departments under the governor. Very good working relationships there. When the governor is looking to provide benefit and relief for all Illinois families, we're going to find a way to work with him on that.
Have you made decisions on who's going to be in your leadership?
I'm working through that process now. We just met as a group last night, so it's too early at this point.
Great. Anything else top of mind you think voters and taxpayers need to know?
Really, I think voters should focus on, or I want voters to know and recognize, 2 years ago on the Safety Act, the Democrats decided to go it alone. And they let the extremes of their party, the extremes of their base, drive that agenda. And since then, for the last 2 years, we have had nothing but divisiveness throughout this state on the issues of public safety. So that really highlights, where I want to take this policy discussion. If they had included Republicans, and they still have not included Republicans, we would get a more balanced approach to public policy and balancing civil liberties and the safety, the right to be safe in your community. So that really, I think, encapsulates where we need to go as a state and as a General Assembly.
And Leader Durkin talked about how he was kind of a voice for moderation. You have to see what Leader McCombie may do. But what's your track as far as being a Republican in Illinois? Is it a purple Republican, or is it going to be issues of gun rights and pro-life and things along those lines?
I've been a member that has been very focused on representing my district. I represent a district that is more of the purple nature. This is a new role, and in this role, I'm going to be representing the caucus as a whole, but making sure that each and every member is representing their district first.
Financing, party financing, talk about that a bit if you can. Of course, big mega donors have been, including the governor, have been the main donors in previous cycles. Is that healthy, or how do you attract some of those smaller donors?
It's incredibly important that we attract more smaller donors. We diversify our fundraising operation. We are getting outspent in races by multipliers of 4 and 5 to 1. And that is not sustainable. It's not good for Illinois, and it's not good for the public policy that gets effectuated here in the Capitol.
So again, that's State Senator John Curran, who sat down with me for a few moments yesterday in his office the day after he was elected Senate's minority leader, and Senate Republicans gaining a seat. So interesting to just hear how now in the minority, they maintain in the minority, how they're going to navigate the General Assembly in the next 2 years. Because really, Democrats can do whatever they want with the supermajorities they have. They could even, with all the Democrats in both chambers, override any potential vetoes from Governor J.B. Pritzker, but those vetoes not likely, with the governor being in the Democratic Party. So we do have uniparty control in the state of Illinois, and Republican minority caucuses looking to be relevant in the General Assembly. So we'll watch how all that plays out, and of course bring you all the updates here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's news and